In this session we're going to look at creating a button that will take us to a new frame to enable us to switch between two screens. So let's get underway. First of all, I'm going to sort of cheat in a way, and I'm actually going to use one of the components. So I'm going to go up to Window on the top toolbar, and I'm actually going to select Components. Components can be found with the squares that are sitting above each other, and underneath User Interface you'll actually find Button. If I click on that and drag and drop onto the screen, you'll find that you get a button with a label. Now this label we can actually change, and I'm going to call it go to frame 5, because at the moment we're sitting on frame 1, and what I want to be able to do is click this button and jump straight to frame 5. Once I've labeled the button, that'll change its face, but I still need to give it an instance name. So once again I'll go up the top and I'll call it BTN, and I'll give it an instance name of change frame. So I'm just going to copy that so I can save me a bit of typing later. Now that's my button labeled and with an instance name, so I can now head into the actions. Notice that I'm actually on frame 1, and I haven't split the layers at the moment, so that's quite alright for this example, but remember to just keep your AS3 script off your GUI interface. So first thing I'm going to enter into the frame is a stop command. This stops the playhead from moving, especially if you've got multiple frames on the timeline. It will loop through if you don't put a stop marker in. And one of the first things we need to do is set up our event listeners. So to set up our event listeners, we need our instance name of the button, which is btn change frame. And I'm going to add an event listener. And I need to set an event listener. So I'm going to set a mouse event. And I need to say what the mouse event is, which is going to be a click. When I click that button, I need to call a function. So I'm going to call f change frame, and that will call a function. Now I need to determine that function, so I'm just going to create another little area, and in here I'm going to have function f change frame. And the function is going to be triggered by an event, and what event is going to be triggered by is a mouse event. And because it's not going to return any value, I'm going to have void afterwards and create an open close. Before I go any further, I want to actually check the button's working, so I'm going to actually put a trace in here to talk to the developer window, and I'm going to put a little command in here, move to next frame, and just put www.lmarsden.com. So if you're looking for other things and what I'm working on and teaching. So when I click the button on the screen, it should call this event trigger, should register the event trigger, come up and write that in our output window. So let's just check that. So I've just gone Command Enter or Control Enter if you're on a PC. We should now have the screen. When I click this button here, you notice our output window is actually given us a trace message. So we know that that button click's working, because it's no use doing any work unless we know that little loop of activities works. Otherwise I can write all the best code in the world, but if it never calls that function, we won't know why it's not running, and we can't work out if it's a programming error or if it's actually, in this case, would be known as an event error, where the event listener is not calling the correct function. Now once we've done that, we can actually then call the frame that we want to go to. So if I ever want to change frames, all I need to do is actually tell it to go to a frame. So I can actually go to and stop in this case. So I want to go to and stop, because I can go to and play, and that means go there and make the playhead play, but I actually want to go there and stop, and then what I do is specify the frame. So in this case here I want to go to and stop at frame 5. At the moment on my timeline though, there is no frame 5, so I'm going to click in frame 5, and once I've clicked on frame 5, I can actually then go up and insert a keyframe, so we can so enables us to move to it. So at the top we go insert, timeline, keyframe, and when we click on that, you notice now we've actually got a section, and also now we've got a empty keyframe ready for some information in there. If I click on that, I can then click in here, and we're looking at layer 1 on frame 5, and I can actually put a stop. bracket bracket semicolon so the playhead doesn't play, and I can actually go trace quote I am on frame 5. Now you've also got to realize that frame 5 at the moment has the button from the previous one, so it's actually duplicated that for me. So let's just run this. Oh, we got a little syntax error, better go fix that. Gonna finish off my quote. So we're in here now. I click and it goes move to next frame. I am on frame 5. So we're actually on frame 5 here, even though it doesn't show that. We can actually distinguish that if we wanted to. We just go back to the time frame. I can click in here, grab something like a text box or something like that. So underneath window, tools, grab the text tool in here. That's frame 1. I'll just extend that out. And then click in here, I can another one in here, frame 5. Now, just quickly run this. Notice I'm on frame 1. When I click again, frame 5. Notice it's error message that's coming up the top here now. That's got to do with the fonts that aren't being exported. So we can actually resolve that and sort that out. I'm just going to take the toolbar and click that underneath here. Back on the timeline, go back to frame 1, select the text tool. If I select all that, under here, anti-alias, turn that to use default font, and same with frame 5, do the same again. And once you set it once, it does it for all the new ones, but because I didn't do it at the start. Now when I run my program, and go to the output window, you notice there's no error message coming up, so I click that, goes to frame 5. If I want to go back to frame 1, just very quickly, I can come into frame 5, select the button, just grab my selection tool, I'll just delete that text box, select the button. What I want to do is go to frame 1, I'm going to give it change frame to 1, and I'm just going to copy this instance name, and once again I just need to write some code in here. So I need to create an event listener, and also I need a function. And what we can actually do is recycle some code. I can go back to frame 1, and if I really want to, I'm just going to cheat here. I'm going to grab all of this, go to frame 5, but be careful when you're recycling code. Sometimes you will make mistakes and copy this the wrong things. You must make sure that all the function names are different. So change frame to 1. So that's different from the first one to 1. Still everything else move to, just change this around a little, frame 1. And what we want to do is go to and stop on frame 1, change frame to 1. Now if I've got this all correct, I'm just going to have a quick check of the instance name, make sure I got that right, to 1. We should be able to now change from frame 1 when I click the button and go to frame 5, and when I'm on frame 5, when I click the button, I should be able to go to frame 1. So when I click this button here, I'm on frame 5. When I click this one, I've moved to frame 1. Frame 5, frame 1, frame 5, frame 1. So it's an easy way of transitioning from one frame to another. Just remember though, anything that I write after the go to here, with inside this function, we actually leave this block of code, we actually leave this frame at this point. So it won't execute anything underneath, it'll actually leave. So always make sure when you leave a frame that it's the last thing you do with the function, so you make sure your data is processed. Alright, I hope you found this video helpful.